it fills her with tranquility and love for all humanity.
So that was a song Primavera by Sal Rodriguez. And today is such a special day. Sal, welcome to the AV Lyric Lounge.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure. Believe me, it's my pleasure.
This is an honor to like just sit down and have a coffee talk with you.
Coffee
you
talk.
know, yes.
Salud.
Salud, brother. Oh man,
Honor is mine. Believe me.
oh. Well, I've had the blessed honor to know Sal Rodriguez, and to collaborate musically with a legend, and I gotta tell you guys, I loved how he would always make me laugh every time I saw him. But Sal Rodriguez, the drummer of War. And from what I found and come to find, that's just the beginning, to who he is. We have found to have so many similarities, brotherhood, and just a lot of love for each other. And, we have a lot of mutual friends, Carl Perazo from Santana, the percussionist. It's like every time Carl and I and Raul Rico, we'd be out like hanging out in the back, and then we bump into War, Oh man, we see Rene Camacho and Sal, and we'd all hug and be like, "Oh man, it's like a super family,
It's a brotherhood, man. Man,
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce and welcome one of my greatest friends,
Thank you, Andy.
Sal Rodriguez.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
I'm honored that you have me here, and you you think of me that way, So I'm just so grateful, gratitude, and just humble to be here and be anywhere, nowadays,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Well,
so-
I want to just jump right in because, time is of the essence and there's so much to talk about. But I want to know, apart from anything else in this world, I want to know just a little bit about, like where you were born, where you came from, how you, got into music. Did you want to be a musician since a child, and were you playing instruments and banging on things and stuff, and
Well, the way, first of all, where I was born in Tijuana, Mexico,
Wow.
in 1956.
Wow.
So do the math. But we migrated over here. My mom was from Durango, from Mexico. My dad was from Jalisco. But as they migrated up north, just like Carlos Santana's family did, they're from Outland, right? They moved up north to Tijuana. Was a happening spot back then, and
Happening, like it was, like I can imagine it.
Yeah, that was the Vegas of Mexico.
It was the
because
Vegas
they
of
had
Mexico.
You
hear that?
The soldiers, what do you call it? The base there.
There was a base in Tijuana.
So, yeah, no, and San Diego,
San Diego, right?
still
So
there.
they would come down,
Camp Pendleton, I think it is.
right?
But
right.
yeah, they would. That was a happening spot. Music and whatever else shows were going on. But it's before my time. But that's how my parents migrated from there to Tijuana. And then when I was 2 years old, my sister was 3. My dad did all the right paperwork to get us over here to move to a town called Pacoima.
Oh my God.
And
So he was from Tijuana. He did the paperwork with the
with the
with
consulate,
Mexico
yeah,
consulate.
the right. He went the right. He did the right thing.
Right. And was it? Do you remember talking to him about was it an easy flow? Was it?
No, because my dad passed away, about 5 years ago. So
God bless him.
and I got to really understand him when he when he had cancer, and I brought, because fathers from that era and from Mexico, they don't really express themselves. They
Right.
hold a lot of stuff in.
Yeah,
And I
right,
had no idea that what my
Right.
dad went through, my father went through. It's like, wow. So it's like, I told him much respect because, my dad was illiterate, couldn't read, couldn't write, but he never got help from the government. He never, food stamps, nothing. It was all hard work.
Right.
And he wound up having 3 houses, so it's always about work. But
Right.
I think those work ethics too, that, you attribute some of that stuff, knowing how to, when you're young, it's just like, okay, just do it yourself. Go out there and start digging or plowing
Exactly.
or whatever it is, right?
Exactly. And they had the skills or the
The
know-how
skills, yeah.
to do it. Yeah.
So, and I'm thinking like, man, how did he do that? It's
Mhm.
like, how did he drive? How did he, you have
Exactly.
to memorize a lot of things.
Yes.
So, I pay a lot of respect to that. My dad, and my dad played. He was a self-taught musician. He was a self-taught drummer,
Oh.
and he played they call the upright. Back then they call them the tololochis.
Tololochis.
Tololochi. That
The
was
upright bass?
The upright bass. That was the word for that. Tololochi.
Tololochis.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they would, with my Nino, my godfather, they had a band called Los Picos, and I was so young, 8, 9 years old.
So you grew up watching your dad.
Oh yeah,
hit it and go on
their
a jam.
backyard parties and people dancing. I'm studying these people. I'm going like, what makes these people so happy? Why?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
I watched my dad playing drums, and the people. And my dad was the life of the party. My dad, his humor was so.
What was his name?
Daniel,
Daniel.
yeah.
Daniel.
And I think that's where I picked up some of my humor from him.
Yeah.
It's just a natural thing, and man, my dad, I can remember him in house parties. He'll be the center guy there, making everybody laugh, telling
Yeah.
jokes, and I think he had to use that humor to get accepted too. That was his kind of like what do you call it? Not his crutch, to, I don't know, just to be accepted.
Right. Every time I see you come up and make people laugh, bro, I think, man, he's the coolest guy. I'd be like, because and you always make me feel happy, so I get it.
Yeah. And I think that's with me too. I mean, I just, I like being that way. I
Yeah.
mean, it just comes natural. Sometimes my wife says like, can't you just be normal? I go, that's normal to me.
That's normal.
I go to the restaurants and I always, with the waitress,
Yeah.
the waiter or something, I always joke around and,
But then our wives say, tone it down.
Can you calm down a little
I love
bit?
you,
Just
baby,
be
but,
normal. It's
Yeah.
like, but we're good on that. But coming back to the music
Yeah.
with my father, man, I remember seeing that, man, it sounds cool, man. I think I want to do that. You know what I mean? So he had a drum set laying there, in our living room in Pacoima.
Okay, so you
Yeah,
guys
he
already
had a drum set already set up.
Okay, uh-huh.
And
And
I would,
he came too.
what's that?
Your dad worked out all the paperwork for your whole family. To come?
No, he didn't work for, he didn't work for our family, but as far as what, the music?
Yes.
No.
Like getting you guys over here doing the paperwork to come over here. Like
Oh yeah, he got
Yeah.
that done
Oh, man.
before that. So
Oh.
when I was already like, 8, 9 years old, we were already here for,
yeah.
we lived at my grandfather's house at the time
Yes.
in a little trailer back then.
Wow.
I can't remember that, but when they tell me that the trailer burned with all the photos and all that stuff.
Oh man.
But this is some pretty interesting stuff because I've never really talked about this part. You know what I mean?
yeah.
The origin of the beginning of
Yes.
how I came over here, from Mexico. But
Phenomenal, bro.
knowing that with my father and all that stuff, and my godfather, and then he would say, "Okay, load up the drums in the car, clean the drums up." So I
Yeah.
get the tres flores and the rag and start cleaning out. There was no drum cases, nothing. Everything was packed in the back of the.
Exactly. I know everyone's so like prima donna now with all the
Yeah.
cool bags.
Yeah,
and stuff,
I know, man.
You know?
It's just, and then I said like that. Then I would go to these parties, and I was like, "Wow, this is so cool." I like to. I think I want to do this. I want to play music. So, my uncle, his name is Kiko Salas,
Okay.
and
Kiko
he
Salas.
was from Tijuana, but actually he was a multi-talented musician. Played trumpet, played drums, bass, guitar. It's amazing. He was like 8 years old already playing the bull ring, playing trumpet.
Wow.
Right? And what he told me that he had a group. He was in the group with Carlos. They're called Los Strangers.
No
And I
kidding.
seen some
You're
pictures.
talking
like,
about Carlos Santana?
Carlos Santana.
Really?
Yeah.
Los
And-
Strangers.
Los Strangers.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Wow.
I go, are you sure?
Kiko. Okay.
Kiko Salas, yeah.
Wow.
And but sometimes you show old photos of Carlos when he was
Yeah, and this was in Tijuana.
Tijuana,
Amazing.
and it was young. And then I seen it. I go, that's my uncle right there.
No.
So I go, I know that's true.
Yeah.
But what happened with that? What got the little fire going was like he was so talented, and the drums were set up in the living room. And that's where I used to sleep. I used to sleep in a little, because we had 2-bedroom house. I gave my sister the bedroom, the room, and I slept in a little love couch. That's where I slept.
Yeah.
That was my bedroom, the living room.
Wow.
But the drum set was set up there. So he came one day, and he went on that snare drum, and I went like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So he would take me to he would take me to the rehearsals where he was playing with local bands.
Uh-huh.
They were already doing Shotgun and all those cool songs, you know what I mean? So he would take me to these rehearsals. I was like maybe 12 years old. I'd just tag along with him. And that's why I started getting the bug. And of course, my dad bought me this drum set. I wanted a drum set so bad. Because we had a drum set that was like an old Ludwig. It was like just a 2-piece. It was like probably from the 50s, right? And I wanted an upgraded one, like a cool one, metal flake, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my dad went to Castle's Music. I was maybe about 14, 15 years old. Went to Castle's Music and bought me a Japanese drum set it was a Mercury. That was a brand. The cymbals, you hit the cymbals, they all bend up. But
And that's cool now, having bent cymbals. I see a lot of drummers.
well,
with
yeah,
bent
they
cymbals.
got the sound effect cymbals.
okay.
Who would have known back then?
Yeah.
But that's how my dad was supportive of that.
Right.
The music never gave me. Why don't you get a real job? Why don't you like you hear sometimes people,
Right.
parents say that
And then they do.
they discourage you from getting a real
Yeah.
a job.
A job, yeah.
So
9 to 5.
Yeah, 9 to 5 job. So he was real supportive of that, and he bought me that first drum set, the Mercury drum set. But my dad was so strict, man. He didn't really, This is what I learned when in his death. Before he died, I won't say deathbed, but a few months before he passed away, I took a brother of mine from the church, to go talk to him.
Yes.
To kind of talk to him about the spiritual journey
Right.
that comes after, So my dad opened up, man. I said, wow, I never heard this. When he was born, and he was, his
Amazing
mother
stuff.
died when he was born. And then his father, my grandfather, my grandmother, his grandmother raised him.
Yes.
So he was raised in a farm, didn't go to school. That's why he didn't learn how to read and write. And he was abused at the farm,
Wow.
and I didn't hear this. I never heard this.
Yeah.
I go, no wonder my dad never told me he loved me. No wonder he didn't tell me. No wonder I never got the hugs, the accolades and stuff. Way to go, son, all that stuff,
Yeah.
But he always supplied. That's the way he showed his love. Always supplied food, he had roof over her head. And that's all I knew. That's all. He was strict. I had to be home at a certain time, this, blah, blah, blah. And if I got in trouble at school, I got a SWAT to school. They used to SWAT us back then in the schools.
Right. Yeah.
And I come home, they
Different
make
day.
a phone call now. My dad's waiting for me at the front door with the seat
Watch
going
out.
like this. So I get a SWAT at the school, and then I get home, whack.
Watch out for the cinturón,
Yeah, cinturón. But you know what I mean? To me, I never I hate you for
Right.
no, just like I deserved it,
Right. Yes. Yeah.
But that's some of the things that, that I hardly don't talk about. But, It's okay.
Man,
we're
that's
talking about it.
I have a lot of interesting similarities.
Yeah.
My dad, his family also lived in Tijuana, but they were from deeper in Mexico, Jalisco, and then my uncle went and got some work in Tijuana, had a hotel and stuff, and so everyone kind of migrated to Tijuana.
Yeah.
But thinking about it, for me, when I would go back to Tijuana every Christmas, it was so cool, man. Like it was the coolest thing. As a matter of fact, so cool that when I went to college for the little time that I experimented with college, I'd want to go down there, or even in high school, I'd say, come on, we're gonna go Tijuana. My family lives there. Let's go, and hang out with them, and
They always feed you, right?
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
No, I'd call my Tio, if I was in a pinch down there, and say like, hey Tio, I need you. Come on, Nico, come over here. Why didn't you tell me you were here? And I go, well, I'm here often.
Yeah, we would visit like every other month,
Right.
because my abuelita lived up there, right by the channel. There's a TV station up on the hill. You see, when you come into Tijuana, there's a big antenna going up there.
Yeah.
She lived right by there.
Oh, no kidding.
And we would go visit her. I still had my other tia lived over there.
Yeah. Well, it's so close too.
She became a doctor,
Yeah.
And but at any rate,
Oh, your tia and became a doctor.
from Tijuana, yeah. But and I remember being on a TV station. I was 5 years old, and I dressed like as a cowboy guy with holsters, and I sang "Sonaron Cuatro Balazos." I remember that. Wow. And then they were watching it back on TV. I was going like, I wasn't scared. I just like, hey, this is.
You were always, and you had this in you. It was in your destiny. It was in your DNA to be a music creator, to be a performer, and I just overheard you saying a little bit about Little Joe and La Familia.
Yeah, Little Joe.
Later on some of the bands. Can you just share a little bit about some of the bands that you've played with?
Yeah.
Part of?
So when coming back with all that stuff with the dad, and, get with the music and started, but my first actual break going through, of course, you playing all the local bands.
Right.
When you're a kid, you started playing, Jimi Hendrix, Cream, and you're in the band with junior high kids.
That's how we learn all the good music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Santana, of course, was one of my first albums, the first album that I bought, and also all those groups, man, great groups. But that's how I started working with these bands, and then all of a sudden I was still in the ninth grade, and ninth grade, and then
like first year of high school. But back then it was still middle school. They called it junior high back then, but it was middle school. Okay.
And my godfather, he played guitar. So he would play in all these little bars in Pacoima.
Yeah.
And so I was allowed to play there because my dad was playing in the band, but since he worked construction and it got too much for him because of the drinking, blah, 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 and in the weekends, and, my mom put the pressure on him to calm down, you know what I mean? So they say, hey, why don't you play drums? So I go, okay. I was making $5 an hour. To me back then, that was some buku money.
Yeah, and it was.
In the late 60s, like early 1970, right? So that's why I started doing all these bars and stuff. And then I went to a local music store called Castles, and they said, hey man, they're looking for a drummer at this place, Acapulco. I go, really? You're looking for a drummer? Yeah. Okay. So I went down there and I saw that, and I introduced myself to these people, right? And they were playing like Little Joe material, and I don't know who Little Joe was. Little Joe, if you don't know who he is, he's like the Tejano, Texas Godfather. He's still around. He's like 84 years old now. But
around could be. Is he playing still?
Sorry?
Or is he playing out there?
Yeah, he's still out there. Oh yeah,
okay.
He still sounds really good. And yeah, so he's got over like 100 albums. I don't know how many Grammys he's got out now.
By the way, everybody, I know Little Joe and La Familia. Like I know the music growing up in Northern California, Bay Area and stuff. Like all of my grandfathers, from Arizona. And stuff,
the Tejano. It's a different thing too, man. From the West Coast, the what do you call it, norteño or conjunto music from here. From Tejano music, it's different.
It's different.
It's a different culture, man.
Yeah.
And,
Norteño music and Tejano music, totally different.
It's different.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, coming back to that, you said they need
Yeah.
a drummer over there. So I go, all right. So I went down there and I said, hey man, I heard you guys need a drummer. Oh yeah. So would you play? Yeah, I can play. I says, all right. So they let me play a song. They go, wow, okay. And you know who was drumming at that time was John DeLuna. John DeLuna was the original drummer from El Chicano. And he was going to move. He didn't want to be in the band anymore. I go, that's John DeLuna. Oh my God.
Wow.
You know? And
Pacoima.
from Pacoima, in Pacoima, he was playing there
Yes.
at a little
Yes.
dive place called Acapulco.
Wow.
And I go, John DeLuna, wow. So anyway, so I started playing with the band. And the guys in the band, Gary Herbeck and all these guys were top session players, right? They did movie scores for everybody. They worked
Ripping
with
it.
Elvis and everybody, but that was their weekend thing.
Yes.
We make $30 a night,
Woo.
right? And of course, they were just there just to have fun and just because they would read the charts. The guy had charts and everything.
That's not
you
too
know?
far from some of the pay at some spots now.
Yeah, hasn't changed, right?
Hasn't changed.
Well,
but
$35 now.
But yes, amazing.
Yeah,
These musicians. Oh my
so
God.
then he goes, hey man, Little Joe needs a drummer. The sax player turns around, he goes, Little Joe needs a drummer. And I think I told him about you and he's gonna come, he wants to come check you out. And I go, okay. Well, I go, yeah, what's the odds of that? I'll keep coming. But he came. He came with his brother.
Get
Because
outta here.
he came in the early 70s, like in 74, to California to try to break out Tejano music. So he had two houses in Canoga Park, one for the band and one for his family.
Amazing.
So he came down to the club and he heard me play. And when during the break, he goes, hey man, I need a drummer. You want to play? Wow. I said, you mean in your band? He goes, yeah. I like what you're doing, man. And so I told the leader of the band, he goes, go for it, because he was a big Little Joe fan, you know. He goes, if that was me, I would go. And I go, okay. And
How long did you play with them?
for about 3 years. So what happened with that, so after the 2 years, I mean, I played here like 6 months all up and down, you know, then we'll fly out to Chicago or somewhere, you know, Kansas City, but we were playing mostly up and down the coast, you know, with this band. But Tejano music didn't hit. So what happens, he packed up his stuff and went back to Texas.
Okay.
I thought then nothing of it. I'm going like, okay, well then that's over, right? I'm starting working a little club gigs again. So I get a call from Joe. You know, we didn't have cell phones. It was just a regular old
Right.
school phones and
The cable.
yeah, the cable.
Yeah.
And he goes, hey, Sal. He goes, hey, man, I need a drummer. It's like, you do? So like, when? He goes, like, now. He goes, you want to come? And I go, yeah, but how am I going to get there?
Yeah.
He goes, well, there's another Sal Aguilera who played saxophone in San Diego.
Uh-huh.
When we were up and down the coast, we became friends because he goes, hey, how do you like that guy on sax? He played flute and congas. And he goes, he's a good player, man. So he joined the band while we were here in California. Because, So when Little Joe went back to Temple, Texas, that's where he's from, he said, how am I going to get there? I asked him, he goes, well, I already asked Sal Aguilera if he's going to come. He can come by and pick you up. He had a little Darts, 1974 Darts Dart.
Where's your ride?
Pickup, right? He
Yep.
goes, I go, yeah, but where am I going to stay? He goes, you can stay with me. I got a den. You guys can stay there. I go, okay. So we drove all the way to Texas, 1974.
How long of a drive is that?
Oh, God. That's 24 hours nonstop. So
Yeah.
it took us a couple of days.
Okay, yeah, about 2 day drive.
Yeah,
okay.
2-day ride. But, you know,
Fun stuff, right? You guys
fun
are probably
stuff back then. Well, you know, you're young and whoo-hoo.
Yeah,
you
no,
know?
and we, let me see. What year was that?
74.
So were you listening to 8-tracks?
Yeah.
Or cassettes?
No,
8-tracks.
there was the cassettes barely came out.
Barely came out? Okay.
Yeah, barely.
'Cause you remember
came
the
out.
big 8-track
Oh, yeah.
players, right?
Yeah. The cassettes were, and then the little portable cassettes came out too, you know.
Oh, yeah, so you could just have a little...
you had a little with a battery operated, you know, you have to
Right.
keep buying batteries.
Right. I still love cassette sound, just sidebar.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But anyway, that's how we drove way out there. And so to me, it was like a culture shock, you know, because it was different. And there was so much great musicians out there too, young guys too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's go, man, the grooves, the feel, everything's it's different. I love their arrangements. They're like really orchestrated,
Right.
you know. And Joe, man, Little Joe took it to another level because he was the first like hippie Tejano guys, you know, with the long hair, the boots, and all that stuff. And I go, man, you know, crazy. So he was a pioneer for that, breaking out, doing Little Joe, his style.
Yes.
Because he would do a lot of Jose Alfredo Jimenez songs and compose them. And he had great writers, you know. Joe Gallardo, Luis Casca was in the band, and, you know, but he had some incredible arrangements, man. But that's how I got my experience in Tejano music. We did the first super dance show in San Antonio was Sonny and the Sunliners, Jimmy Edwards, Ruben Ramos, and it was this big old convention center for the first time. And that's the first time Little Joe and Sonny Osuna played on the same stage, but they were the big rivals. But they were good rivals.
The rival bands?
But yeah, because Joe
Carlos
put an
talks
album,
about
there was
that.
nobody bigger than those two guys,
Okay.
Little Joe and Sonny Osuna.
Yeah, because they're the big.
Yeah, they were at the Pioneer Tejanos with the, you know, putting out records.
Yeah.
Boom, boom.
Yeah,
One right
that's where
after,
it's
almost
at.
every year.
Yep.
Right? We talk about content.
Yeah.
And that was a great experience, man. I go, and then I see them dancing counterclockwise like this. A whole bunch of Tejanos just like this, you know. I go like, and you know, spinning around, doing all that. I go,
Man, I hope we can show some footage of that stuff.
I go,
because,
man,
you
they're
know,
organized, man.
that's-
Over there,
yeah.
over here, man, with knocking
Yeah.
tables over. You know?
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was
They had
different. But
another thing.
and then the radio stations were bilingual.
Already.
Yeah. Ahora Tejano says, se van a presentar. Tonight it's going to be Little Joe. You know, no se te olvide. You know, I'm going like,
So
wow,
major.
this is bilingual.
Man. So major.
I never heard that.
Everyone needs to hear and needs to know about this now.
And
even
it's
the
still
youth.
that way right now.
Yes.
It's still that way.
Yes.
But that was my great experience with Joe, man. So we've always kept in touch, you know, and I toured all over Texas and all over the place with Joe.
It was
And
natural.
It was great, man.
Yeah.
It was such a great experience. And he took me under his wing. Today he's still like my Texas godfather, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
There's you know there's a new surgence of Tejano music actually coming out and people trying to bring and you know that back and stuff. And people that I've talked to here, you know, Daryl Salcida, if you know you should get to know him. You know, he has a Tejano label over there as well in San Antonio.
Wow.
So there's some synergy there. We could talk about it later, but
yeah, there's some great musicians, man, you know, and so that Tejano scene, man, and back then they were allowed to bring alcohol in the dances.
oh
Yeah,
wow,
it was. They had their own little bars, their little
bring your-
suitcases.
bring your own beer.
Bring your own BYOB. Bring your own
no
booze.
kidding. Yeah,
So
right.
I was
right.
like, what?
Right,
But
so the promoters really didn't get they were making all that money on
So
alcohol.
I don't know
yet.
how they made, you know.
So maybe
but-
ticket sales, did you have to buy tickets to
Yeah,
get in?
of course, yeah,
Okay, so
tickets to
ticket
get
sales
in, yeah.
are making it there.
Yeah.
But they probably, you know, at the time, probably saw that to be, you know, good because now, I mean, how much is parking's more than, you know, than movie tickets were
a house
ever.
payment.
I mean, like seriously.
Yeah, it's
You know,
100
parking
something,
places is like...
$150.
No, seriously,
crazy, yeah.
$150 for parking sometimes, or $100. You know, it's like what?
$100 and yeah, it's out of control.
Yeah. So like fast forward, you know, Little Joe and the Familia, and maybe you know.
I did a couple
further-
albums with him too.
Oh, you did
know,
some-
yeah, Brown
okay.
Stuff, and he came out with a song "Trago mi 45," right?
Oh.
Which he says, you know, I have my 45. Anybody mess with me, right? And he said this one obscenity word. He said, "Trago mi 45 para todos los." I can't say the word, but he was banned from the radio. The first guy that I know that was banned. That for playing that song. You can't play that song. But it wasn't like a real nasty cuss word. It was just a slang word.
Right.
I could say like cabrones, right?
Right.
Para todos los cabrones. And then they're like, no, you can't say that.
No.
So he went
And
back
then
and
he was
he
banned
had
from
to
the
change
radio.
the lyrics on that.
The
But
song
he was controversial.
Or was he? Was a song banned or was he?
No, the song.
The song was
Yeah,
okay,
the song.
okay, yeah.
Because Little Joe was just like, how do you ban James Brown?
Yeah. Right.
Or
And all the songs.
you know. But that was great, you know, learning the experience and that's when I first met Victor Pantoja. He was on the record with Victor, Carmelo Garcia, incredible timbalero. He played on Stevie Wonder stuff, Another Star. That's Carmelo. And these guys are walking up. I don't know who they are, just hippie guys. And I'm going like, who are these guys?
History.
I'm going like, wow, I didn't know these guys, man. I'm like 18 years old doing my first recording with Joe.
Legends.
I'm going like, yeah, these guys, man, they're both gone, you know. But but that was my record with Joe, and then I did Mañana. There's another album, and then I put one song on. I have one song on this called La Voz de Aslan with Little Joe. But
you gotta go back and listen to some of these songs.
Yeah, they're remaking them now on CDs and stuff like that. You know, some of these records, but it's just the musicianship quality of those for that kind of style of music.
Yeah,
it wasn't just your typical like a blues 1-4-5. You know, if you're playing blues stuff or just stuff, but it was really great arranging. You know, it's like, wow, this is different.
So how did you land the gig with War?
With War is I was working with Tierra at the time with the legendary group Tierra. I joined that group in '85. So,
what was Billy Mondragon in there at the time?
No, that's way before.
That was before. Okay.
I took Phil Madaya's place. Phil Madaya was the guy that was on all the records, right? I started subbing out in 1982.
Okay.
Because Phil, you know, so he couldn't make some of the gigs, and then I met Rudy at when I saw Phil, I said, "Hey man, you ever need a sub? You know, just here, let me know. Call me up." And he goes, and he called me. One day he called me. He's just out of the blue. Said, "Hey man, can't make this gig. You want to do it?" And I said, "Yeah, for sure."
The leaders of Tierra.
But it was Phil Madaya was the original drummer.
Right.
Well, I called that song Together, and I called the Carnegie Hall lineup, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when he called me up, Rudy and Steve, and we're in the band, all the guys, Andre Baeza, everybody that was on Together and Carnegie Hall, the lineup was still there.
Mm-hmm.
So I started subbing out for Phil, and then like was in '82, and then I did this gig I was in Jose Feliciano's band for a minute, right?
Wow.
Yeah. So I was touring with him.
No kidding.
So that ended. He moved out of town. Something, you know, I don't know what happened, but so I get a call from Rudy Salas.
Yes.
That Jose Feliciano gig just ended. I go like, okay, now what? You know. So and then I get a call from Rudy and I go, hey man, I need a drummer.
Mm-hmm.
Because you wanna play in the band? I go, yeah, of course. So
how long did you play with him?
For 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah. And but when I went to the first rehearsal, you know, everybody was there. Of course, Bobby Navarrete, Bobby Loya, Joey Guerra on keyboards.
These are all legendary names. Steve
Salas, he's the one that sang Together. And Rudy, man. Of course, the founding members was Rudy Salas and Steve Salas.
I tried to sing that song, but not like him, man.
Two brothers, yeah. I mean, his voice.
What a voice was,
yeah,
right?
But those guys, the way they harmonize.
Right.
There was nobody better than them in East LA for harmonies. Those guys.
Right.
The
From
beautiful
East LA.
tone, and Steve had this just. The voices were different. That's what was a good blend.
Yeah, I love his tone.
Yeah.
I love Steve's tone.
Yeah.
It's different. Like, you know, and even just trying to go in and sing the song, I realized there's no way I'm going to match that. Just sing the
Especially
song.
at the end when he crashed just Together at the end. It was like,
man.
Well, yeah. You know, it's like, wow. It's
yeah.
like,
It's his signature.
Yeah. It's a stamp. People to stamp. And
yes.
Definitely. But that's how I got the gig. But with Tierra, so, and then that went on for 5 years. And then with War, we would do shows with War, El Chicano, Malo, and all these bands, right? And even Azteca. That's when I first saw Sheila E. She was 18 years old playing with Azteca.
Yeah.
I was with Little Joe somewhere back in the...
That's Sheila E.'s family, and Pete Escovedo, her dad's band, Azteca.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Coke Escovedo, they started the band.
Escovedo,
her uncle.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was with with Tierra, we do all these shows with War and all these groups, right? Malo and all the bands, and so Papa D, the original conguero from War, passed away. He had an aneurysm on stage back in 1980, 88, something around
man.
there.
Wow.
And we were good friends
Mm-hmm.
because when we do shows together, Papa D would sometimes sit right there and watch me play. I'm watching, I go, man, this is Papa D, right? And he goes, yeah. Lonnie goes, man, he just loved the way you played, man. I go, oh, okay, great. So that's nice. He passed away, and then a couple years went by, and I was looking at this place, at this magazine. I forgot the Alley Weekly. It shows, advertisements and where the bands are playing and all that stuff. And I saw War was playing at in Redondo Beach, and man, I just had the name of that place in my brain right now. It'll come back. But anyway, they were playing there. I go, man, I'm off this weekend. I'm gonna solicit myself. So what I did is I called the drummer up at that time, was Ron Hammond, and I said, hey Ron, man, I'm off this weekend. I know you guys are playing at the at that place in Redondo Beach. He goes, can I just come? I'll bring my percussion. I'm not asking to get paid. I just want to come and play. I'm off. He goes, let me call you right back. About 5 minutes later, he calls me. He goes, yeah, they say come bring your stuff.
Amazing.
So I went down there, set up, and then they liked what they heard, because I started singing, and because I knew the music, playing congas and timbales and all that stuff. So a couple of days later, they called me up, saying, hey man, we're going to Reno. You want to join us for a week? And I said, yeah, of course, So that's why I started working with them, and I was still with Tierra at the time. But then they never said, hey, you're in the band. They just say, hey, are you available?
Right.
Are you available?
Right.
Are you available?
Right.
So I go, man, these guys are saying, are you available too much, too often? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Am I in the band or what? So so finally they just said, yeah, you want to join the band? I said, well, yeah, I got to tell. Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
So I always bow out gracefully, with Rudy. We never had any problems.
Mm-hmm.
Never, if you don't know who Rudy Salas is, he was a founding member, him and Steve. But I always respected the fact that he was a band leader, and how he kept this thing going.
Yeah.
But
Bless his soul, man. Bless their souls.
Bless their souls, man. And so, I bowed out gracefully with the band. So. And then they would call me periodically to come sub where the drummer can't make it or the percussionist guy can't make it. So I always got the call back because I knew all the music. I know how to sing the backgrounds and all that stuff, right? The harmonies. Because I was singing harmonies with them too. So that's how I got the gig with War. So this year's going to be 35 years now. It's amazing where did the time go,
Oh, I know.
And but with that, I work with a lot of groups too, opening up, of course. One of my mentors is Carlos Santana, which you have. It's an amazing career that you had too, that you have right now too, man. It's such an honor, man. And
for us both to be in bands that have had such a history before, so many songs. I mean, I'm still learning songs that that Carlos did. That,
man, his category, man, is just like unbelievable.
Amazing. And vice versa. When I listen to Wars, man, I mean, you got the band was so innovative.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what it was back then. It's like they didn't have arrangements, they didn't have charts in it. They were self-taught musicians.
Right.
So they went in the studio, there was all jam sessions. Smoke a little bit of this, do a little wine. That's how the Spill of Wine got created, because Lonnie, they say, spilled some wine on the console. And Eric Burden was in the band back then. When Eric Burden, the Animals broke up, he wanted a soul band, so he came to Los Angeles looking for a band.
Spill the wine, kiss that girl.
Yeah. And then, so Eric Burden, he was the lead singer for the Animals, if you know who he is. And he's still around.
Yeah.
He's in his 80s. He's still out there.
What an amazing group.
Yeah. He was part of the British invasion.
Oh my, yeah.
And but he was he would make up stuff on the spot. So a lot of stuff was spontaneous,
Right.
like rap, like one of those rap records that there wasn't even called rap
Yeah.
back then, you know. But that's how I got with War, and then I started subbing out too, doing other projects too. You know, I got to work with the Duke Ellington Orchestra. Yeah, back in same time with War, I was like, okay, I'm open over here. They would fly me out to New York, and I go, out of all the guys, I was playing percussion with them because they had that Caravanserai, they got stuff like that. But you know, they let me do a solo and stuff like that, and got to play Carnegie Hall with them. To me, it was like in the early '90s. I'm going like, Carnegie Hall, wow, that's pretty cool, you know.
Amazing.
And I'm sure the places you played at's staggering. You know, I mean, it's not even no comparison. But to me, that was a big deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a huge deal. Sometimes when we be in those places, I wouldn't even think twice. It would just be like I'd be thinking about the music and be like, oh man, this is, you know. I think I was just a little young to really absorb the density of what was really happening and stuff. Like when I look back at it now, or you know, talk, you know, to you, you know, those precious moments were really so educational. You know, like your story is super educational for the youth now out there that are looking to, you know, how do I get out there? Well, really, it's listening to stories like Sal's, you know, in just saying, hey, you know, seeing who's out there, going out, being present, making a phone call, saying, hey, let me come. Can I just come jam with you? You know, it's like getting out there.
Yeah.
And you did, and that opened up doors that led to other doors that led to other doors. And I think these days everyone's just so, if I may, they're so impatient.
Yeah.
You know, like I want like. You know,
because everything is fast nowadays.
Right?
Because you know, because of this.
Right.
You know,
So they have to be.
They don't have patience.
On, you know, on YouTube.
Yeah, it's just.
You know.
Yeah, it's not like it was back then.
But listening to your story, Sal, it really is comforting, and it's really extremely educational, and it's so interesting because it's how everything developed. And to me, if you want to learn how to, you know, to get into the music business yourself or be a performer, musician, you know, just like actors have their story, you know, you got to know the history, right? Yeah. And you played with so many legends, bro. Like so many legends.
Yeah, well, you know, and it's funny. It's not. I don't know if it's funny, but you know, working with some of these guys and being in New York, to me, 34 years ago, you know what I mean? That's a big deal for me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because kid out of Tijuana, Pacoima, now starts traveling and is playing these stages, Carnegie Hall and Roy Albert Hall and all these places. I'm going like, wow, I never thought in my wildest dreams I'd be playing in these places, you know? It's no big deal for the guys who've been doing it for decades if they go every year. But for me, it's like, wow, what an opportunity, you know?
And it comes with a price sometimes, right? Like getting, you know, into that, you know, the trials and tribulations that, you know, you experience from being, you know, a musician in that scene.
Exposed.
You know, exposed, you know, and in like, you know, like you were talking about the jam sessions and stuff, you know, the closed door studio sessions where everyone's having a good time, you know, and sometimes too much of a good time, right? And you know, and, you know, very candid, you know, about our, you know, lives of now, you know, boy, did we rock and roll then?
Yeah, you start young because you see, I think if I know where you're going at.
Yeah.
But you know, when you're young, you see your rock and roll idols doing stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, well, that's part of rock and roll.
Right.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
The trinity of rock and roll.
And everyone thinks that now.
And that's normal. You know, so back then you think about it. Okay, I drink beer. I smoke pot.
Yeah.
I couldn't afford cocaine because it was too expensive.
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't afford it back then.
Yeah.
But, you know, coming back to all that stuff too, you know, working with these groups, man, you know, I did get to work with Chuck Negron too from Three Dog Night. I was in his band.
Really?
And we did because when I would do his gig, I said, man, they have like 30 hits, right? Like one after another. And I was part of playing percussion and singing one of the parts.
Wow.
That's why I got the gig. Because they needed a singer. And but they can play a little percussion because Chuck Nergron was doing some of his original stuff too that has some percussion. But to me, it was like, man, I get to work with, because Three Dog Night was one of my groups too, growing up. You know, Eli's Coming and all that stuff. Celebrate, One is the Loneliest Number. Stuff you heard on the radio, man. I go like, man, now I'm friends with this guy. And now I'm in his band.
Yeah.
So how cool is that? But, you know, so working with these groups and, you know, just playing in these places, man, sometimes it's just normal. It's just a way of life, and take it for granted sometimes, you know, that, you know, it could be gone tomorrow. You know, we could be gone tomorrow.
It's just a snap of a finger.
So, you know, as we talk about that, you know, I think we talk one time when I met you, we were doing this video for Snoop Dogg and blah, 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 and Burbank, right?
Right. It was
and that's when
remake
you were back there. You were part of the video too. We were in the back room and one of the rooms back there, you know, so green rooms, and so we just started talking, and I'm pretty candid about my recovery part.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then we just started talking, and you're like, I go, yeah, this is what I do. You go, yeah, you too. This is what, you know, you do too. And I go, really? So I mean,
that's how it opens up. You
and
know,
I think that's why that other special bond came out with the brotherhood, knowing that there's a special walk, a journey that we walk. You know what I mean? And it's not for everybody, but I love my journey now, man. It's just clarity, you know, abstinence from any kind of altering substances, you know, and it's now, this year will be my 14th year of complete being sober-minded and not a drop of anything, you know. So
congratulations and God bless.
Thank you, man. And I work it, you know. I work it. People, that's like for some of the youngsters out there too, man. It's who you hang out with, man. Please don't get started with that stuff, man. Any chemical stuff, you know, and it just, it's no way out but down, you know what I mean? And there's so many people didn't make it and just ruined their lives.
And these days, I feel I'm seeing, you know, people fall and leave faster because of what they're taking and intaking. It's not like it was back then where, you know, it was a little bit, you know, like,
we could say more organic, so to speak, you know, but now they got so much chemicals out there, fentanyl.
People are dying left and right.
You know,
kids are dying left and right by just testing it once.
Right.
It
could be a small little thing.
Just a small little thing that's in you, and you're gone. You know.
Yeah.
It's a total different time, but man, I am completely humbled, and you know, by when I think. It was interesting because there was so much craziness going on around us.
Right, and there's so much pot smoking because Snoop
like,
Dogg and who was that other guy? The guy with the skateboard. What's his name?
Yeah.
Dogface.
Dogface.
He was doing a video. That was his video.
Oh, that was Dogface's video.
Dogface.
Of course, yeah.
It was just Cheech and Chong in the video, and it's all about pot.
And Cheech Marine.
Yeah, and then I'm going like, so one of the scenes, man, they had to do this footage where they had these big blunts and big old heads and throwing the air up and, you know, the smoke, and I go, nah, another take. They had no problem with doing this again. I go, man, I had one hit of that thing and I'll be on the floor.
No, they did many. I think they did like almost 10 takes of that thing.
Yeah.
About that. We kept on looking at each other like, dang.
Take another one? Just like, oh, unbelievable.
And you know, for those that do in the can, it's their life, and you know.
Yeah, I don't knock it, man. If that's what you do.
Right, yeah.
You know, I'm not here to judge, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's just my journey. And just being around that, it doesn't bother me, you know, because I know, you know, the obsession is gone, you know, when we talk about
and that's
recovery.
special because sometimes if some people that are around it, you think that the peer pressure is, let me do it to indulge and participate, because this was me too before, you know, when I'd get into studio sessions and they'd be like, hey, you know, you want some, and you really want them to be like, you know, cool with you, so you'd be like, yeah, so then they could open up, have more conversation, all of that. But what would happen sometimes is I would start getting paranoid, and then I wouldn't really vibe out correctly to the track anyways, you know what I mean? So it had like a reverse effect of what initially the reason why I was doing it, you know? And so, but, and maybe sometimes creatively I'd catch one and I'd have some other kind of ideas or whatever. But
so
now,
what your thing was, it more pot, more was like
I think it was other substances.
Yeah.
And it was definitely when I moved to LA, I was smoking a lot of ganja,
yeah.
a lot of the green ganja and stuff, and so, but then then the night would roll around and I'd go out to the bars, and hang out, and the bars you have, I was always a beer drinker from Watsonville, you know what I mean? Meaning, hanging, but it was normal.
Yeah, it was
wasn't
normal.
like
Yeah, it's a normal
anything,
thing,
and I was fine. It wasn't until, I took that gradual just being and understanding it, I could hang, and that's what the thing was I could hang and be there. But then when the harder liquors from the bars would come around,
the firewater.
the firewater,
Yeah.
right? And then that would set you off into the night, because that doesn't start till, when you go to the bars or, after dinner or for dinner or what have you, always around a drink.
Yeah.
And so, and that's how, my, addiction escalated,
Yeah.
The pot smoke was always like, man, sometimes I wish, and I look back at it, it's like, man, I wish I would have just stayed cool with the pot or something like that. You know what I mean?
And I tried that for 10 years, because
Really?
when the cocaine usage got out of control, about 30 years ago, my wife says, she put her foot down, say that you're done, right? Okay, well, maybe I'll just smoke pot. And I did. I stopped drinking. I stopped doing coke. And for 10 years, I smoked I was like, me and Bob Marley were hanging out every day, man. It's like, that's like crazy. But then
It takes the place of it all.
yeah, it just nobody OD'd on pot, so pot's safe,
why
right?
not? Why not?
But
Let's
then
go do
it's
something.
just
No, I
like
got to do this first.
when you start smoking too much, you don't do nothing. You just
You don't
sit
do
there
anything.
and start thinking about what you're gonna do.
Exactly. I think you start thinking about what you're gonna do.
Yeah, and never get done. But that's something that I cherish now is working my program. I do my program and speaking places, but I encourage especially the young. I give back to the youth, like we're talking about the Richie Valens thing
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I was raised in Pacoima and then San Fernando. I went to San Fernando Middle School, San Fernando Elementary, San Fernando Middle School, and San Fernando High School, and a lot of people came from there. Of course, George Lopez went to San Fernando High School, elementary, same schools that I went to. We did the same schools. He's younger than I am, about eight grades younger, so I didn't really know George back then.
It's phenomenal, bro. You guys from the same place.
Yeah, same place. And so now I lost my train of thought.
No, we were talking about
the weed. See, you forget.
Yeah, it's understandable. No, but the location that we're gonna raise.
Oh
money
yeah,
for.
the Richie Valens thing. Because Richie Valens, of course, he lived in Pacoima. He wasn't born in Pacoima. I think he was from Laredo or somewhere, somewhere up north, right?
Yes.
But when they migrated
came
down
down.
here, he moved to Pacoima, and he went to San Fernando High School at the time. He was just barely there when his record started blowing up.
The whole Obama story.
So now it's a place called American Legion that's still there, which I performed there when I was 11 years old.
The American Legion, where
in San Fernando.
In San Fernando,
they filmed the movie there.
They filmed the movie. It's where he had the dance.
Yeah, he had the dance when Bob came in.
When Bob came in, drunk,
the movie,
and the mom was. It was like the big shot. They paraded it around town. To say, hey, come on, Richie Valens and his flying guitar.
Yeah, flag the poster and everything.
And it was his time to show how good he was in front of Donna.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like his love, his sweetheart, and man, you're talking.
Yeah.
This was my story. So please,
Yeah,
so the American Legion.
Yeah, so the American Legion in San Fernando. So what we're trying to do now, part of the committee now, to raise money to redo the stage, because that place is like 80 years old. That, the American Legion.
So
small
it's
place.
the stage that you want.
It's a stage that we want to redo again. With
Upgrade.
Upgrade with the electrical, with the lights, with the sound system.
And it's a committee.
It's a committee. I'm part of the committee,
Okay.
so we're raising some funds for that.
So we got to put that out there. So where can we find that?
I'll give you the information on that.
Okay, so we can put that in the link of
put that in the link.
It'll
yeah.
be on our link of our video of our
great,
podcast. Okay,
great, awesome, yeah. So I love doing stuff like that, man, because to me, giving back, it helps me all the way around, just in life in general. That's just being a humanitarian, giving back, and not for accolades, not for brownie points or trying to please people, but that's what helps me stay grounded. When I speak at youth groups, when I speak at men's transition homes, and go up there, share my testimony. But what I do is I like to bring my bongos. I play war music, and I grab their attention, and they're singing along, and then I just share. Hey, I'm just like you, and I'm no different, But I'm here to tell you that there is hope. There's hope in this madness, this insanity. So, but that's what I do to keep me grounded as far as that, And of course, you're not going to please it. Somebody's always going to have something that they don't like what you're doing or this, but I don't pay attention to these people. I just do it. I know what I do, and I know that I'm okay. I'm good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You can't please everyone.
Yeah, everybody.
And when you work too much,
you might say something, little thing, they get all tanks, or somebody heard this or that, and I go like,
how can you? We have to be ourselves, who we're born to be. Like we were talking about earlier, we could be gone tomorrow.
You're right.
It's like, oh, did I say something wrong? Can we edit that? Can we do? You know what? I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry because I want to live and I want to be myself.
Yeah, when I came in, you talk about it's okay to be talk about our journey with this.
Recovery,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I go, I'm totally cool with it. I'm transparent. I got nothing to hide, and transparency to me is being honest. Honesty.
But also, and if you agree, I want someone to hear this and be like, you know what? It's okay to talk about it, because let me tell you something, man. Like, we lived the Jim Morrison life already. It's almost like sobriety is almost like the last trip.
Yeah.
It's the last thing to do.
Yeah. It's the last door to open.
It's the last door to open. And it's not easy, but it's a way of life. So if that was a way of life, this is a way of life. But, going back to living in that doldrum and that, that Groundhog Day, it's a Groundhog Day, bro.
Yeah.
There's nothing more for you when you live the same thing and you put your state back into where it was, because it's a state of peace. You feel like for the moment you get the hit, or for the evening you get to put you out to sleep so you could start a new day. What ends up happening is you wake up the next day hurting, needing that again to try to feel your new state of normality.
Mm-hmm.
And you consistently live that Groundhog Day after Groundhog Day, into where your family's trying to, if you're so lucky enough to have a family, trying to wake you up and get you, to a place where there's no place you can get it.
Right.
And you can start trying to put yourself in a new form of thought. So, but, we don't have to do that. And you don't have to do that. As a matter of fact, the grass is greener on the other side.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it truly,
people do still know
is.
how good it is. You know what I mean?
Oh, man, if I could give, if we could give, someone who's inundated everything in a crystal ball to see it and just follow the steps in that crystal ball, like, okay, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Or if you can hand like something tangible, saying, here, hold this.
Mm-hmm.
And you go, this is what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
feel that.
But like another musician was talking to me. We were at a restaurant and stuff, and he's ordering drinks and stuff. And he goes, you don't drink, right? And I go, no, man, I used to. He goes, man, how do you do it? Don't you feel like after your show, man, I'm playing guitar, man, with all these people and stuff, man, I need to have a drink, man. I can't do it with, I need to have it. I go, I don't. I go, I don't want to ruin my high. I got a natural high right now.
Thank you.
That can't take the place of it. That can't take the place. That's all temporary. Because in the morning, you're going to wake up going like, oh, man, how? What did I do? What did I say? Who did I offend? That's me. I had that personality, I had that compulsive behavior, and if it just couldn't be one or nothing, you know.
And by the way, it's taken some time, but I'm definitely so much more creative, and I practice in my artistry, and I share this with my students in our songwriting camps, that the lyrics, the next part of the song, it's right here, it's right in front of you. But if your mind comes in and blocks it, then you're not going to get there. So let's work at separating the blocks and stuff. And it's the same thing I feel with sobriety too. It's like, okay, life is happening now and you're upset. Someone just pissed you off. It hit you in your emotions, and, your feelings are hurt. And now you don't want to feel your feelings, so let's numb your feelings a great deal. To numb your
Suppression, suppressor.
Right.
We do that to suppress the feelings, that's what we talk about in recovery.
Right. So, but in the same thing in songwriting or in creative, work and stuff, I found I've been able to utilize my sobriety, my recovery in what's next, and be like, it's here, but just if it's not presenting itself, calm down, look at the big picture, step away for a second. Don't react, respond.
Right.
And
be
then
quick to listen, slow to speak.
Yes, and it's there. And then you're like, oh, why I was fighting it? Why didn't I hear it before? Because it wasn't ready for you yet. It's cool, and it's that patience, and it's treating creativity that way too. And in the creative work, you are also a songwriter, and we've collaborated on a song too. Right. And, and we're working on your album, but you have so many amazing songs. We teased some of your song in the beginning of our show here, and we're going to play a little of it, at the end, and it's a song called Primavera. Right. And who by the way, the songwriter of this song, Primavera,
Daniel Valdez.
Yeah.
He did Zoot Suit. Also La Bamba produced.
And he was a producer in those, and Zoot Suit.
Actor from Zoot Suit.
That's Edward James Olmos.
Yeah, theater from up north, Delano, up in that area.
Yeah, it was San Juan Bautista, right? Had Teatro Campesino.
Right.
Where they put on these plays, and Zoot Suit was one of the plays they did there. I went to go see Linda Ronstadt there when I was a kid, because my dad was a mariachero, from the area. So he played all around the area. As a matter of fact, played there with his mariachi band.
What does he play?
So my dad is now retired from mariachi.
No, but what did he
my
play?
Dad played guitar and sang, and he also played vihuela.
All right.
And he led the band, so it was his guys and stuff. And so I'd had same thing, man. I'd come home and see everyone there practicing. They'd come over on Sundays and always be the mariachi band and stuff. And then after he'd play for our barbecue, then they'd leave to go work, and stuff. So, but he would take me to go see, these things. And honestly, I had no clue. I was trying to like hip it up, so I would, wear because I used to have a traje too when I used to go sing with my dad.
Yeah.
So I used to wear the mariachi shirts and stuff, but I put like a tank top underneath and roll it up, put my hat backwards and stuff, and go like, I was in high school.
Yeah, you had to. It wasn't cool back then, because when I would play with my Nino's band and I see people who would play the rancheras, cumbias, and all that stuff, I go, nah, I want to play cream. I want to play this. I want to play rock and roll, man, And I kind of like, they don't see me.
Man,
I was like that. I was like,
me too. I took your. I love the tradition, and I encourage everyone to do so. But me at the time, because I wanted, to rock out like you.
Yeah.
I would take it right off and go and put my head, and I'd make it hip hop real quick. Right after I go sing, Cielito Lindo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But now, okay, let's make a hip hop Cielito Lindo.
Yeah.
What? You know what I mean?
And we talked about a project doing that too. Well, we want to talk about it now, but we got some things that we're going to.
So Daniel Valdez, though, right, who was the songwriter of your song that you cover,
and then El Chicano covered it back. That's where I first heard it from El Chicano.
Because El Chicano covered
they did an incredible version of it.
Primavera,
the song. I know Santana's got a song called Primavera. JB,
but it's not like this one. This one's beautiful.
No, this is different. It's more,
that one's beautiful.
Yeah,
too,
they're both great songs, But this is a '70s song. That's where I heard it too.
Uh-huh.
Growing up listening to these great bands, and that we can relate to Latinos being on the radio. We don't have too many
Yeah.
in our culture. My upbringing in the '70s, man, we didn't have too many. But when I first heard Santana on the radio, I was like, wow, I think they just exploded because of the Latin rhythms.
And I think, that's why Carlos loves Richie Valens so much too.
Mm-hmm.
It was because he was a Latino,
Right.
Chicano,
He was 17 when he died.
on the radio, 17.
17.
And how blessed, I feel I was extremely blessed to know the family. Me growing up, I would see, Richie's, albums at their house,
Wow.
and it was, I went to school with his niece, Gloria, and the family, they just embraced me so much. So I'd come over and they're like, Mio, come in. And her brothers, gosh, they were all my brothers, from high school. And I felt really protected with Eddie. It was his, nephew and all of them. You know what I'm saying? Because they knew people in town. But anyhow, Richie Valens, I feel a connection to, to him and his story, then obviously the movie. And there's a lot of synergy because, there's a new, there's a lot of stuff happening right now around Richie Valens and a new movie,
Right.
that is happening now, Richie Valens, but, or La Bamba. But the story, we're so kind of like entwined, with people that have produced it and been a part of it and stuff, especially with this new song. We'll play a little of it, after, we'll tease it and then have a, let everybody know to be on the lookout of Sal Rodriguez's upcoming music. He has some of the most amazing music
Thank you.
sitting in the vaults that that we're gonna we're gonna put it out. We have a song called "Let It Be Me," right?
Right.
That we have together that we'll come back and we'll perform it. We'll perform it live for everybody when it's
and
time
that was
to put that
was
out.
originally done by the two brothers, the Everly brothers, who recorded in 1956 or something like that.
So now that we talked about it, we better hurry up and get it out.
Before and then Tierra did a version of it.
Yeah.
And I love the way they did it, so I kind of like adapted to that. But the one that Primavera that I recorded because El Chicano did a version of it.
Uh-huh.
And so when I was working with El Chicano too,
Yeah.
I was in the band for a while.
Wow.
Yeah, El Chicano.
Dude, so many bands.
Yeah.
Bro.
And Bobby was the original keyboard, had Bruce Conte on guitar from Tower Power, and but so I got to know the guys,
Yeah.
of course, and then I said, hey man, I really love that song Primavera. You want to come in the studio and do it? And they did. They came. So I have the original keyboard player that from Bobby Spinoza from El Chicano, the original bass player, Fred Sanchez. I have Rudy Regalado, the timbalero from El Chicano, Jerry Salas on guitar, the lead singer from El Chicano, and Marcos Reyes playing congas from War. So a lot of key people that they're in there. Papo Rodriguez, he worked with Poncho Sanchez for many years on
Papo,
bongos.
I love Papo.
Yeah, so he played on there. So the song came out really, really well, and it's been sitting in the vaults for so long. But I think it's the time is now, But now that you're so generous and have the passion to help me out to release this music, it's been sitting in the vaults for years.
It's time.
And it's recorded well too. I have a lot of great musicians in there. Players like from Rocco from Tower Power and Bruce and Lydia Pence from Cold Blood and
I'm getting chills, bro.
Luis Conte, Justo Almario. I got
Luis Conte was one of the first musicians that played on my version of Oye Como Va before I joined Santana.
Really?
I was signed to RCA, and he was the first studio musician that was called. And then he brought a couple of other musicians, a trumpet player named Harry Kim.
Harry Kim, he's on my stuff too.
And so, man, see, it's super amazing. So Luis goes, yeah, man, and he had this idea to put a vocal on it. So he put, a vocal on. He goes, yeah, come over here. I got to connect you with so-and-so and stuff. And so I started to go to La
Hey, man, I'll connect you to this person, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, man. So I always look at him as like, one of the guys that he was one of the first guys that opened the door to a lot of, LA musicians.
Yeah, he's the most recorded Cuban musicians in the entire world.
I mean, and on TV shows.
Yeah, me just staggering, you know.
Amazing.
And I met him when he was I was going to junior college here back in 1980 something. He came and did a clinic
Yeah.
with him and Ramon Banda, and you know
Ramon
they're doing
Banda,
a
bless
clinic,
his
and I'm
heart,
just
yeah.
there watching him and going like, wow. But that's how far back, you know, knowing that. But when I asked him to do this project for me, he didn't hesitate.
Yeah, no.
I said,
no.
dude, I only got this measly budget. And he goes, "Oh, you don't have congas there, man?" And I go, "Yeah, I have congas." "Oh, okay, I'll see you there." And he just played, and man, it just.
I mean, he's played on like Luis Miguel. When he told me that, bro, and I went and I listened to it, I keyed into the bongo, you know?
Yeah, Maná, he's on the
Maná
Santana
records.
Who is
Oh,
he?
man.
What records is he?
Luis
That guy?
Ponte.
Yeah, he's a
What a
phenomenal
name.
and
What a
such a
funny
great
guy.
guy
and
too.
A beautiful person.
He's a brother now, and you know, and along with Alex Acuna too, is a dear friend of mine. You know,
oh my gosh.
so
Yeah.
these are all mentors to me. So these guys, some of them are my project. Like you talk about Harry Kim,
Yeah.
you know, he's director for
Trumpet player.
Phil Collins and
Phil Collins,
everybody,
yes.
man. But
Yeah.
but these kind of caliber musicians are on these projects, and I'm excited that you are willing to to help me out and
Listen,
put this out.
it's to me. I mean, it's not just a no-brainer, but the world needs to hear the music. And today, in today's, digital vastness here, there's a process. Let's get the process done, and let's get it to the listener, and let's tell them the story like we're doing right now, setting up, the story, and it's not much harder than that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not much harder than that. It's really just consistently, reminding them that it's there.
Yeah.
Right. And that's it,
I appreciate
Hey, but the
that.
AI could take care of that now. So, but man, it has really, really been an honor to sit here and talk with you. And I would just like to share with everyone where they could follow you. Like a Facebook or Instagram handle.
I got
Where would that
Instagram,
be?
Instagram. My Facebook got hacked, so I had to start all over again, So I started the Instagram again. So Sal the Drummer 2, the number 2.
Sal the Drummer 2.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and we'll have that link on our podcast too, so you can go and
We'll
follow
start-
Sal.
So
Yeah.
that when we start, I guess you got some formats too, once we start getting this thing going. I love your logo there.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. Yeah. Welcome to the Lyric Lounge, the
Yes.
AV Lyric Lounge. We kicked around a lot of ideas of names and things, and and found that this one really stuck with us. So we'll have our new domain, which is avlyriclounge.podcast. You don't have to go to .com or anything like that. It's .podcast, and you'll be able to go directly to all of our information of just Lyric Lounge stuff, which is this location here, and this is the first time that I hope you'll be here, because we have to continually update everyone on the projects of everything we talked about, how the stage, over at the center, the American Legion.
Oh, the American
stage.
Legion,
we have
yeah.
to update everyone how that's going and how the fundraiser is going. I would love to be a big part of that as well.
Definitely, you're going to be invited. I'm going to hit everybody up, man. George and everybody that's prominent and and they have passion for that.
Because
And
maybe there's something that the city can do too.
yeah,
In the building is I haven't seen this. Is the building strong? Does the building need
the buildings.
upgrading?
Yeah, they did a new roof on it.
Oh, good.
And they did the electrical on the other side, but now they got to get the stage separate. They got to redo the stage. You got to tear the stage down.
Yeah.
They put lights on there. Everything modern with switches.
Yeah, it needs
and,
a new up.
and I want to put a PA system because
Upgrade.
last week I was there with the youth from San Fernando High School,
Uh-huh.
which I did a big fundraiser for them, getting equipment, drums, keyboards, and
Do you
all
have
that.
pictures of that?
Huh?
You have pictures of that?
They have some videos on that.
Oh,
yeah.
great. Yeah, send that over, and then so that we can show it right now.
Yeah.
as we're
So,
talking.
but they were doing another fundraiser for we kept in touch, because they called me, hey man, my band's playing over here. Young kids are writing original music, and they had like about 4 or 5 bands playing. So I had just come back from Illinois, and from the airport, I went home, laid down for about a half hour. Then I went over there, but that was at the American Legion. But I'm going, man, this is what we need. We need a local place where they can come and just play their music, like have a Friday night jam session or just to showcase their music, because there was about four or five groups of they all supported each other. They had little mosh pits and going on, but it's all clean fun. There was no drugs, there was no alcohol, It's like, of course they got the bar on this side, but the kids, they're respectful. And I really like that about them, that they're really creative, supporting each other.
I'd like to get involved and see if we could bring in the foundation to do some, supporting and maybe get some of their songs recorded.
Yeah.
Right?
That's great. Yeah.
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 Maybe
I mean,
something
they
like
got, I'm surprised at how good they were and how they were writing. I go like, wow.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Kids
they're
today are really
freshly out of high school, just barely out of high school.
You got to go in and show them and mentor them through so they know that, they don't have to, go, get
yeah,
into
they're struggling and, recording
and,
however they can and with minimal equipment. But, you got to give back to the youngsters and let them know. That's why I do this for the schools and stuff like that, letting them know that, hey, man, somebody cares for you. Somebody's been through that. I'm here. This is my neighborhood, and I've been around, been fortunate to travel and make a living out of this, But, you can do it too, but make sure that, you hang out with the right people, get educated, do this, pursue that, and stay away from all this element over here, and that's my advice for them, to keep doing it, keep practicing. Nobody told me when to practice or how to practice. I knew I just had to run home from junior high with my albums on my, I used to take my albums to school, the Jimi Hendrix, the Band of Gypsies, and, Santana Records, Chicago Transit Authority. I used to take them to school just to show off. This is like 1970.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, man, let me borrow your albums. No, you ain't gonna borrow nothing.
Okay.
But, I used to run home Grand Funk Railroad when they first came out. To me, they was like, man, Don Brewer, these drummers, Danny Serafine,
Yeah.
Of course, Gregor Rico from Sly, all these drummers, man, just like, wow.
I'm so grateful that I know who you're talking about because we've shared the stage too,
Yeah,
Danny
just
Serafine,
growing
and
up
also
and practicing
Gregor
to those records, man,
Yeah.
Just practicing. You just go get off and put the needle on the,
Yeah.
then it gets worn out. Then you put a nickel on top of the so it won't skip anymore.
Yeah.
But that's how I did it, but now they've got so much technology out there. But so my thing is just giving back too. That helps me. And but I'm so thankful that you invited me here. I feel honored. Believe me, it's the other way around.
No, man.
But
it really truly. I look up to you.
Oh, thank you, brother. I look up to you too, man.
Many times we've been in the midst of craziness and we've calmed each other down and said, "Hey, man, you're okay. I'm okay. Am I okay? Yes, you're okay. Okay, good. Thank you. Are we sober through this whole thing? Yes, we're sober. Okay, good.
Yeah.
And that's what we need. And that's what I'm just so grateful that God has brought you into my life, and that I could be of service to you, and that's what I want to be. I know you are, man, and continue to please invite me to the Christmas parade, because that is so much fun.
I invited Andy.
Man. I get so much joy.
Because I did the national anthem last year, right? Because I do that Christmas parade every year. I invite people.
The Pacoima Christmas Parade.
It's called Pacoima Christmas Parade.
Yeah.
Of course, Danny Trejo's been there. Emilio Rivera.
Yeah.
You got a bunch of actors and people and political, people that show up. Karen Bass was there last year, and it was a trip. But at any rate, it's so much fun because this is my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
I was growing up there as a kid. Playing in these bars down the street.
We meet at like City Hall, is that?
Yeah, City Hall, Pacoima City Hall.
And then all the cars lined up.
Yeah, lined up, the trucks, the flatbeds with the kids, the mariachis, the banda bands, and the high school cheerleaders, the elementary school cheerleaders, they're marching down, the horses, and, that's our parade. We're proud of our city, and
everyone, when you wave, they all wave back to you.
Yeah.
But if you don't wave, they're not going to wave to you.
Yeah, they don't
You got to
wave.
give them energy. I was telling there was a boy that was sitting next to me. I'm trying to remember his name, but he was a friend of a friend's, and he said, "Hey, do you think he could sit next to you in your car?" We had a nice car, bro. The top was down. I sat on the back.
Yeah.
The convertible, and I was telling him, he goes, man, everyone's waving to you. I go, they'll wave to you too. And he goes, really? I go, yeah. Watch. See, smile. You gotta smile. So work your cheek muscles and smile and wave. And guess what? He started to do it, and they would wave back to him.
Yeah.
And I hope that sent a little message, is that the energy that you put out, you receive.
And you see people there that that know you, Sal, like,
oh yeah.
But that's, to me, man, that's awesome, man. It just, I do that every year. I've been doing that for
how many years?
Yeah, probably about 15 years now.
Oh, bless your heart.
Yeah,
man.
every year now. So I brought a lot of musicians.
The food up there is really good. You get the pan de dulce.
Yeah, they supply good food there, and it's an honor. So so keep coming back, man.
I will.
And I had him sing the national anthem. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna get somebody else to do it. I don't want to do it. I did it last year. It's somebody.
It's not an easy song, man.
Yeah.
You gotta
hit that high note. You gotta make sure you start off there.
And there's the key, getting that key, because you don't start too high. We've seen those videos of people that start too high. You can't go any higher.
Yeah.
But no, it's just
so much fun, man.
Like, this is the vibe that we have together, Sal and I. Every time that we get together, it starts with the.
And I seen you with your band too. I know your Spaghettinis last night, right? Doing the Luis Miguel thing. Yeah. I have a little studio at the house, little studio, so I was there recording, doing some mixing and stuff, so I couldn't make it. But Phil Ruiz invited.
Philip Ruiz.
He said, "Hey man, I'm playing that." I text him back, and can't make it. But
Philip Ruiz is our percussionist.
Phenomenal band.
So talented. We had a great time. We play at Spaghettini, once a month, and this is in Seal Beach. It's an Italian restaurant. But it has a jazz lounge that is just a beautiful stage.
Very nice.
And
the food is fantastic. So
the food's great. The vibe's good. And good music. You can't miss with the musicians anytime you go watch a show there. It's almost so much fun.
They have a lot of great jazz. Down with 3 plays there.
DW3, Mondragon Brothers. Shout out to DW3.
Yeah, there's my boys, man. I love those guys.
Yeah, they opened up the doors, to that space too, and Billy's doing a lot of great things. Eric's doing a lot of great things. Damon has his show. He does a Frank Sinatra show there.
Who does that?
Damon.
Oh, Damon,
yeah,
really?
Damon. Yeah, he does a tribute to Frank Sinatra, and he does it so good.
Yeah,
man.
he
sounds
singer,
like him, bro.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. If you close your eyes, you'd be like, in the Frank Sinatra space. And I love Frank's music.
Oh yeah. Well, people say when they close their eyes, they think I'm Elvis. Thank you very much. Uncle Burlow, baby.
That's pretty good. I like the lip,
Uncle Burlow, baby. Why don't you want some that? Elvis spoke Spanish too. You know that?
No.
You could have said your teddy bear, mamacita.
Mamacita.
Yeah.
Sal, thank you for being here. It just was the most amazing time here with my brother, Sal Rodriguez.
Right.
And now we would like to play the full song of Primavera. What do you say?
Hey, man, sounds good to me, man.
Is that cool? Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Primavera by Sal Rodriguez. And please follow him at Sal the Drummer 2 on Instagram. And please subscribe here at Andy Vargas Official, and keep on coming back to the Lyric Lounge.
Now to wake a winter dawn, and once again I see the sun, and the birds come out to see. the world back home again. My